What is happening, webheads? Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer. Always bringing you daily comic book content and helping you make decisions of what comic books to buy. Today, I'm bringing you a quicker version of After the Poll. Reason being is, guys, once again, I have a hurricane on the doorsteps of Florida. However, this one is much more serious than Helene. The other one went next to the state and traveled up north and went to like South Carolina, North Carolina, all those places. This storm, Milton, is actually going directly across the state. And as of right now, the storm is predicted to hit on Wednesday. And we're almost getting a direct hit from this thing. And as of right now, this storm is a Category 4. It is supposed to weaken upon its arrival a little bit. But still, guys, we're going to get a hurricane through here. So my anxiety is a little bit higher than normal. I got a lot of things to prepare before this hurricane happens. But I still wanted to take a break from all that, discuss a little bit about comics with you guys. And I won't have the time to edit a normal episode, but I still, again, wanted to talk about this stuff. So let's get going here. We're going to start with the independent books, okay? So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Savage Dragon. This is issues 272. So when it comes to Savage Dragon, it's been a while since we actually got an issue released. I know there's not many of you out there that read this, but some of you did respond on my last video and said, hey, Mike, I still read Savage Dragon. So listen, we've had this whole thing with Savage Dragon and his wife being molested by freaking Mickey Mouse. That's what this whole thing has been, about. And now she wants to sue Mickey for all he's worth. And in the meantime, we wind up getting to see Savage Dragon do battle against these guys right here. It's one big fight scene. Savage Dragon is not the book it once was. Originally, when Savage Dragon was created, we saw the original Savage Dragon. He was a cop. He was saving lives, and it's kind of just been like all over the place these days, and it's been like almost a sex book. But it's one of those books where I just continue to read because I've read it forever. But for a normal fan, normal comic book reader, I would not recommend this comic. All right, next we got Conan, The Battle of Blackstone. This is issue 2. This comic book is pretty good. I wish I read more of Conan before I got into this because I kind of feel a little bit lost. We get introduced to this female character that helps out Conan, and I think she was in previous issues. And we got this sign that all these different characters are brought together for this purpose. I guess it's this black stone, and they do battle against this demon. It's very horrific and gory, and we'll get to see what's entail for these cast of characters with this black stone, because it looks like they're going to go into this temple or whatnot. The artwork is pretty good. It's a solid book. I just have to get on the regular Conan series. I got to actually tell my shop to put it on my pull list because they don't receive this series on a regular basis. But I would recommend this if you're looking to jump on Conan. The next book we have here is Spawn. This is issue 357. So when it comes to Spawn, we most recently got this origin story of the new sidekick, Lila, I think her name is. And she is a hybrid. She's like a heaven and hell character, right? And it's pretty convenient because Spawn doesn't have any of these powers as of right now because the dead zones are expanded, but she has power. So he's teaming up with her to kind of take on these vampires. And then what happens is they come across another specific hybrid that they were trying to rescue. Whether this character was friend or foe, you'll have to read that for yourself to find out. Pretty solid book. Brett Booth does great artwork in this book. I did think it was a little bit heavier in the inks than usual, but if you've been reading Spawn, you obviously know what's going on here. However, if you have not been reading Spawn, I think you're going to be freaking completely lost. All right, so now we're going to talk about two of my favorite indie comics of the week. And the first one we're talking about is Red Coats. This is issue 6. A fantastic issue, as this is the conclusion to the first story arc. We will get an epilogue after this particular issue. but we wound up getting to see who is the potential next villain going on in this series, which was really awesome to see. We wound up getting to see a very heartfelt moment when it comes to like Simon Pure and young Albert Einstein here. And at first I thought that Simon Pure was actually going to die in this issue, but man, oh man, it was very intense. The artwork was great, and I can honestly tell you, man, when I read issue 1, I was like, this is okay, but, you know, I'll give it an issue 2, and if I don't like it, you know, I'm going to drop it. And it just got better and better and better, and it was a story that really grew on me, and it became a phenomenal story. So whenever the first trade comes out, if you have not read Redcoat, I definitely suggest go out there and read it. Great, great book here. All right, another really fun book is going to be Nemesis, Rogues Gallery. This is issue 3. Absolutely awesome as we get to see Nemesis, who is like an evil Batman, right? He now has a ton of money. He's stealing all kinds of stuff. He has a sidekick by the name of Pedro in here. He's teaching him to be this young supervillain. They like hijack a freaking plane that's got like bombs and weapons in there. It's like so freaking over the top. It's just absolutely insane. And at the end, you got people that are going after Nemesis. They want revenge, and let's just say they come face to face with with a Nemesis in this comic, and you're just like, oh crap, what's gonna happen at the end of this issue? Really great stuff. Highly recommend Nemesis. Mark Millar is a phenom when it comes to, you know, writing comic books. It's so good, man. I remember reading the first volume in Nemesis and I was in love with it. Then they came out with the second one. Then they came out with like the Big Game series, and now this. It just delivers on all levels. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Marvel Comics this week. And the next thing we're talking about is Venom War Spider-Man issue 3. I would say don't waste your time with this. This is garbage in my opinion. Like, it's got some pretty decent artwork in my opinion, but like Spider-Man goes to all this weird crap, and there's this like weird Clintar creatures, and he gets this the crazy King in Black suit here, and it's like freaking Mary Jane, I don't even think is in this issue. It's just like so weird. It just doesn't even belong, I feel, in the Venom War storyline. It's just like a flip book in very many ways. I was just like, I don't like this book. It's just, the first issue was all right. The second issue, okay. And then like the third issue is just like, yeah, I don't need to read this. So stay away from Venom War Spider-Man. Not worth it. But speaking of Venom War, this is issue 3 of 5. I think this is where we're at. Yeah. So this is another one where it was like this second issue was good. The third issue not as strong here. We wound up getting to see the Venom symbiote actually make its decision by the time you wind up getting to the end of it on who it wants its host to be. Okay, and so the final page was actually a really great reveal. I'm just so curious to see where they're going to go with that in the future. It's kind of like, you know, it was the battle between who's going to get the symbiote. And it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of cheap. But when you read it, you'll find out for sure. Like I said, it wasn't as good as the second issue, but the cliffhanger was actually pretty good. And of course, I'm going to continue it to see how this story continues to develop. But if you're tired of symbiote stories and you don't want to read it and you don't care about it, I totally get it. All right. X-Men. This is issue 5. So this story is focused around Quit Inquire and Psylocke as they're going into the new mutant that has been in a coma to find out maybe how he's got his X powers. Okay. Now, my thing with Jed MacKay is he is a writer that is very segmented on characters, especially when he does team books. I said this in Avengers. When he has an Avengers story, he has 1 or 2 pages that focuses on two characters, then another 2 characters, then another 2 characters. Well, now you're starting to get to see the trend where he's focusing on characters in the particular issue of X-Men, right? So last issue or a couple issues ago, you just focused around pretty much Cyclops. This issue, you focus around Quit Inquire and Psylocke. The next issue is going to be a couple other characters. And like I said, there wasn't very much to this book. It was just them kind of going into the mind of the mutant here. And what they discovered was very disturbing. It leaves you with a great cliffhanger. Will they touch on that going in the future? Probably, maybe not the next issue, but very soon. It's not a bad story. It's just not great. I'm expecting something a little bit better here. All right, next Marvel story we have is Deadpool issue 7. Really great series overall. I have fun reading it. I like Ellie as a Deadpool character. However, in this issue, it didn't quite feel so, I would say, I'm not looking for it to be outright funny, but humorous. And without Deadpool, Wade Wilson in the comic, there was something missing in it. They are a dynamic team. Ellie, Wade, Taskmaster, Doug, Princess, right? And with Deadpool out of the picture at the moment, there was that element that was definitely missing from this comic. You do see Ellie and Princess infiltrate this, I think it was a pharmaceutical place, and they're doing battle against like these duplicate guys named Matt or something. I don't even know. It was kind of weird. It was okay. Don't get me wrong. It was heartfelt because we wind up getting to see Ellie here actually dealing the struggle without having her dad. And she's putting a lot of pressure on herself to try to bring him back. So not a bad book, but it wasn't as... I'm looking for that comedic moment, and there was a little bit less of that in here. So still really good, though. I highly recommend it. All right, now we move on to DC. DC had a huge week. I talked about the DC All-In special that was released on Worthy One. So if you guys want to check that out, go ahead, check that out. And then they had like a few of their like conclusion to their events and All-In titles. So let's talk about Plastic Man No More. This is issue 2. Cool series. I've really enjoyed it as we've gotten to see Plastic Man deal with this battle that he had where now he's falling apart and he can't regenerate. He's trying to make things right, going to find the Metal Men, and he's trying to get them to come up with some kind of cure so he can I don't know, fix himself. And if he can't fix himself, at least fix his son, right? So we can see that he's doing abnormal things, trying to trick these guys. And it was good. It was a nice read. I've really enjoyed it. I've never read a Plastic Man story in my life. So this gets me to know a little bit more about the character, his personality, his MO in this story. Great book, man. Definitely recommend it. So now we go into the Absolute Power conclusion. This is issue 4. I don't think you need to read a specific book first, but I think if you want to end off an event and go into a new initiative, read this first. I think it makes more sense as we get to see our heroes here do final battle against Amanda Waller, right? And what happens to Amanda Waller at the end of this issue? You're like, damn, like, is she going to ever recover from that? And I think that is kind of torturous on what happens to her, right? You wind up getting to see your heroes get their powers back by defeating the Amazo robots in this book. However, not all the heroes get their powers back in the way that they had them once before. I don't know if I agree with that because there's certain characters that have these powers that make them iconic. However, right, maybe they'll get them back eventually. Yeah, maybe it wears off and it switches back, whatever the case may be. But again, the way they took on Amanda Waller was kind of fun. I enjoyed it. I thought this was a better event from DC, so I'm looking forward to this. And then, obviously, you get the whole story with Ollie here. He reveals why he was such an asshole and how he was able to pull off all the stuff that he did. So, recommend the conclusion to it. All right. Then we have Poison Ivy. This is issue 26. I told you guys I was going to jump on board with this comic, and it actually has been a good jumping on point to an extent. Okay, I think when it comes to this comic, I think it's a great jumping on point for a story arc. However, I don't know who I think the girl Janet is in the comic book. It's like she's a love interest. Was she part of their team? Like they're got Crocodile, Killer Croc calling her boss and all kinds of stuff like that. So it was a little bit lost, but the story arc is good as she's going to restore a part of Gotham. And all of a sudden there was this small city that rose, or small town that rose. And the next thing you wind up seeing is like, I'm trying to remember actually, like there was that town that rose, and I guess she's kind of trying to investigate what it actually is. And then you wind up getting this Green Knight cult that's this agricultural thing, I don't know. And it's like, I guess Poison Ivy is behind it. It's interesting. It's pretty good. It's well written. And I think it is a good jumping on point, but there's certain elements where I did feel like I'm a little bit lost. But I would recommend Poison Ivy. I thought it was actually pretty good. Okay, so the last book that we're going to be talking about today is Batman issue 153. Obviously a new jumping on point here. And it truly is, man. I really think that this is a point where if you haven't read Batman in a while, this is it. It catches you up on everything that is going on in Gotham right now, whether it's with Commissioner Gordon, with what's going on with the mayor, what's going on with Vandal Savage, the Riddler. There is a lot to read. The artwork looks pretty good in this comic, as I showcased this one. You got Jorge Jimenez on the art here. And again, it's really a good jumping on point. However, it is dense. So if you have read a few comics in a row and you're tired of reading, give yourself a little bit of a break. You don't want to speed read through this one because there is a lot to take in here when it comes to this comic. You might be a little bit surprised at what's going on with the Riddler and his whole new business and things like that. We do get introduced to a new character. This is the way he looks in here. I don't know what you guys think of him, but who is this mysterious character? Well, you're going to have to read it and find out for yourself. I have an idea who I think this guy might be, but I'm not going to spill the beans yet. It does definitely have a very interesting cliffhanger by the time you get to the end of this book. And, you know, Gotham's been safe for a little bit now, but I think things are maybe going back to the old ways of Gotham. So, do I think this book is a good jumping on point for readers when it comes to Batman? Yes. Do I think that Chip Zdarsky might have a little bit more free reign now that absolute power is over? Yes. Could he have a good story to tell us? Let's hope, right? We can only hope and pray, and we'll see what happens as time goes along. So there you guys have it. There are my thoughts on this week's comic books, as this was a speed run all the way through. Like I said, got lots to do, don't have time to edit, so hopefully you did still find this video informative. Please leave all your comments down below. If you want to check out more content right here for you to click on, including the Worthy Ones video, where I talked about all those new issue ones. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember, support the local comic shops. I probably won't be able to get my books this week as that storm is hitting on Wednesday. Keep reading, keep buying, do all that stuff, guys. But always remember, again, read the comics so we can have a great comic conversation. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.